Hello everybody and welcome back to a brand new episode of the NASCAR Heat 5 and Nitro Racing League here on the channel, closing in on the end of the regular season. Today we were going to Iowa Speedway, a lot of Iowa here on the channel all of a sudden when we went there in the career mode. Now we're going here in the Nitro Racing League. So we started P10. It wasn't exactly where I wanted to be starting, but we had a lot more speed in the car than what we showed in qualifying. So this race is 200 laps total. Stage 1, 50 laps, comes to a close when we hit lap 51. Stage 2, well, that goes to lap 100, ends when we hit lap 101, and then the race comes to a close when we hit lap 201 there, as we see some lag right off the bat here from that number 20 of Jonathan here as we came through at a turns 4. I really didn't know where I wanted to run right off the bat, but I usually feel more comfortable running up higher on the track, right above the seam right here where you see me pretty much. So this is where I spent the majority of the race running, and this top was really strong. You could make the bottom work at times, but it got harder and harder, it felt like, as the race went on. So you're going to see that come into display, but the outside definitely was the dominant line, it felt like here. So we were making some passes, moving our way forwards now, and for this race we only had 16 people, so that meant everybody in this race was all in the same Xbox party instead of separate parties, and that also meant that the caution rules were actually changed for this race. So when a caution gets called, the field is immediately frozen instead of us having to race it back to the line. So whenever everybody's in the same party, that's how it's going to work. When we're in separate parties, we still have to race it back to the line after a caution gets called. Now as we went down into turns 1, continuing to move our way forward, so I actually got into the side of Jonathan right there. I was still trying to learn the track, get everything sorted out here with how this car was driving. This car right here drove completely different on Xbox compared to what I felt on PC when I was recording my NASCAR Heat 5 career mode at this exact same track. So unfortunately I cut off the 20 of Jonathan. He got up in the wall, but now on lap 10 of this race, continuing to move our way forwards, we had actually gotten repassed by the 20 of Jonathan as well as the 19 of Matt, but we were trying to just work our way back forwards, and we were now up in a P7. So just trying to manage this car, keep it out of the wall, and we would now run down the 12 of Cameron here as we came through out of turns 4, and we would be able to get past him as well, trying to get into that top 5 for some stage points. But there was also a green flag pit stop on the way if it stayed green here as well. So there was a lot of racing still to get dealt with now as we came through out of turns 4, making a bit of a slide job there on the 12 car of Cameron here as we come through down the front straightaway. And actually behind us, they all came together. They would go crashing. Andrew Wisdom involved, and a few others got collected, and the caution would actually end up coming out after that happened. So I didn't feel like I caused that one. I was up in front of the 12 well before that had happened, so I don't know exactly what all went on behind me, but we got back underway. We pitted, did the choose cone rule. I chose the top for every choose cone restart here on the night now, so I just realized the bottom just wasn't going to work. Now the 14 of Mahu, the rookie, that's been very strong a couple weeks ago. Actually, before we mentioned that, going into turn 3 right here, I got plowed over from the 12 of Cameron, and that just shoved me on the outside. Well, that got me a little bit aggravated. I was trying to race him back down and just run into him, but the 14 of Mahu, the rookie, been very strong this season. At Dover last week when I was absent from the Nitro League, him and Jonathan had one heck of a finish where Jonathan punted Mahu out of the way to win the race. So definitely keep an eye on those two tonight, and maybe you'll kind of see what happens at the finish of this race. And now as we come through, though, out of turns 4, 3 wide between Matt, the 12 of Cameron, and the 88. I could have stayed behind Matt, but I was still trying to get that 12, so I decided to follow him and just run into him a little bit there into turns 1, but he slides way up the track. At this point I'd kind of gotten over it, and I was like, okay, let's just move on from that. So we were still 3 wide in the middle between the 19 and the 88 here as we go down into turns 3, just trying to get out of this 3 wide in the middle, and unfortunately it wasn't quite working. Now Matt Chaffee had gotten to my outside as we came through out of turns 4, some contact with him. The 19 of Matt O'Brien is going to look to the inside now as we go down into turns 1, and unfortunately right here I had a chance to slide up in front of Matt Chaffee. Don't pull off the move. So both Matt Chaffee and Matt O'Brien are able to get in front of me for the time being, but now as we came through to lap 33, we'd actually gotten back in front of both of them, and now we were battling again with the 12. The number 88 of Libert actually got to the outside wall there, kind of slid behind us, but then we now out of turns 2, we're battling with that 12 of Cameron again. We got in front of him for a moment, then the 95 of Connor hits the wall, made some contact there that allowed the 12 to slip back up my inside now, but fortunately now we had the advantage of being on the higher line, so that would make me be able to get back in front of that 12 no problem whatsoever. So now in the closing laps, we're in the top 5, looking at some stage points here now as we came through out of turns 2 on lap 47, looking at the inside of the 4 of Christian. That's the same guy as usual that drives a 4 car. He changed his gamer tag, so that, as you guys know, is Christian, or NNR Drake used to be his old gamer tag. Now as we came through out of turns 4 on the final lap of stage 1, we came through to cross the line to get P3. So we got 3 points in this first and opening stage. Mahu got second, and the 20 car of Jonathan won the stage. So then we came back to the pit lane, put 4 tires on it, put some adjustments in the car, took 2 cans of fuel, and got back underway for the start of this second stage. And this stage comes to a close when we hit lap 101. So just keep that in mind here as we came through out of turn 2. It was a very calm restart, at least up at the front. Some contact going on behind us. Bryce in the 18. He was now getting up into the mix. His playoff hopes have been getting slimmer and slimmer as this regular season goes on, but we'll see if we can pull something off here. Now as we came through a little bit later, Mahu, Jonathan, they're still going at it for the lead. Mahu actually lost the lead to the number 20 of Jonathan, and now I was trying to put the pressure on Mahu there in that 14. Now I still don't know his first name, so if whenever I learn his first name, I'll stop calling him Mahu and actually call him by his name here as we came through turns 3 up the inside of him. Some contact right there as we came through out of turns 4 and down this front straightaway. So now just trying to complete this pass, but I actually decided to let off a little bit and just get in behind him. And then actually I would be able to get to his outside here on lap 76, and that would allow me to now have that opportunity to get in front of him as we went down into turns 3. So you can see though, myself and Mahu, we got battling so hard that allowed the 20 of Jonathan to just drive away. He was long gone, well over a second out. So we knew that it wasn't looking very good in terms of running him down. So late now in stage 2, well past halfway, green flag pit stops had already happened for a bunch of guys, and that's why I'm surrounded by the drivers like the 10, the 3. You see the 12 coming out right here. So I was getting ready to make my pit stop. I didn't really know what to do here because we were only going to have 18, 17 laps to go when I pitted in stage 2. I decided I was going to take 4 tires still. So here you see me coming in right now. Jonathan actually would take 2 tires. Mahu in the 14 would take no tires, I believe. That's what I heard. So I took 4 tires, like I said, so we had that advantage, but now we had given up so much time because they had taken less tires than us that we weren't actually going to be able to run them down. So now on lap 91 with 10 to go in the stage, going to the outside of Andrew Wisdom. He actually just let me go. Very nice of him here as we came through out of turns 4. So we would be able to cross the line there with 9 laps to go and get up to P6, but there were still some cars yet to come into the pit lane. So by the time everybody had cycled through, we come to lap 97. We were now up into P5, right to the back of the 19 of Matt O'Brien, as well as the 18 of Bryce there on the inside. And both of these guys, I believe, took either 2 tires or no tires. I can't remember what it was, but clearly we had way more pace than them. I wasn't waiting around. I was said, you know what, I'm going to go 3 wide in the middle and get past them both here if I can. I saw that 9 of Andrew Wisdom. He was hanging on pretty well here late in the stage, so I was trying to make sure he couldn't get in front of me now. So into turns 1, we're going to be able to get both of these guys, but the 19 actually, hold up just a second. Matt O'Brien fights back to the right-hand side. Some contact with Bryce on the inside. We're still 3 wide in the middle as Mahu trying to hold off Jonathan for the stage win. And then finally we get clear of both Matt and Bryce in the 19 car and the 18 car. So before the stage came to a close, Jonathan would take the lead back from Mahu on 0 tires, or 0 fresh tires, who Jonathan had 2. That allowed him to get back out in front and win the stage. So we got P3 once again, same stage order as stage 1 was for stage 2. So we got back underway now for the start of the 3rd and final stage, and this will come to a close. This race comes to a close when we hit lap 201, and of course if we have overtime, we have those extra laps on your screen available for that possibility now. So once again, another really good restart. Every single time the choose cone, I was taking the top. It just didn't make sense to take the bottom. It felt like maybe if you're running like 10th and you can get up to like 3rd or 5th on the inside, maybe it's worth a shot. But now as we came through to lap 108, a caution had actually come out after we had kind of cycled through into 2nd place. So we got back onto the pit lane, came back out, and Jonathan actually stayed out. Everybody pitted, Jonathan stayed out. So he was out in front now, and once again he took the outside just like I did here. And we had only had about 2% to 3% wear on the right side tires after we had come into the pit lane. So Jonathan was at about 97%. We were at 100% here for the restart. So that makes a difference. You're going to notice on this run that Jonathan, he was definitely off the pace compared to what our fresh tires were, but his advantage was he had the lead, and if he covers that outside, it's very hard to pass on the inside. You see it gets very close there between myself and the 14 of Mahu as we went down into turn 3. We had some good racing going on here with Mahu at multiple times throughout this race, but we would cycle out for the time being into second place. You see the huge run I had right there, and I was going to try and make a move to the inside. I actually made some contact with the 20 of Jonathan. That kind of slowed the run down, but I still tried to at least make it happen. Unfortunately, doesn't quite work out. Right there, some contact down the back straightaway, and then I slide up behind him because I did not want to get stuck on that inside. So now on that 119, Andrew Wisdom behind me, and then the 14 of Mahu made a move up the inside. He slides up the track. We make contact. We're into the outside wall, and now to turns 4. All of a sudden, we're 3 wide with Andrew and the number 19 of Matt, and then sure enough, into turns 1, everybody is driving into the wall is because I'm getting hit, and now all of a sudden we're down to P6 or 3 wide again in front of us between Andrew, Mahu, and Matt now as we go down into turns 3. So just trying to get ourselves back up at least into that top 3 now as we came through out of turns 4. Sure enough, we have once again that outside line advantage. So now Mahu falls out of the top 3 down to about P5, P6, and then on that 133 caution had actually come out. So we would all come back into the pit lane again for 2 cans of fuel, 4 fresh tires. No adjustments at this point in the race I was making here, so we got back underway on that 137, which still means we have 1 more pit stop guaranteed on the way. Maybe it's under green flag conditions, maybe it's under caution. We're not sure quite yet here now, as I was just trying to follow that 9 of Andrew Wisdom now. So obviously with Jonathan covering that top, it, like I said earlier, it's so hard to pass for the lead. Andrew here on lap 141 sails it off into turn 3, a huge dive bomb, and it almost works. If he could have just got stopped in front of that 20, maybe it would have worked, but that allowed me to actually overtake him and move up into second. So now things were looking pretty good for us here with a little bit over 50 laps to go. Now on lap 147, a caution had come out again. So everybody pitted again, 2 cans of fuel, 4 fresh tires. We got back underway with now 50 laps to go in this race. And with 50 laps to go, that's the length of stage 1 and 2. And there you saw the 19 of Matt O'Brien make a big move there. He sailed it off into turns 1. And just like with Andrew, it didn't quite work out. So now I'm kind of forced to try and make a move on the inside. Fortunately, though, I was able to slip up out of turns 4. So now, on lap 160, a little bit later, it was myself, Andrew, as well as Jonathan running away here out front. Now on lap 161 into turns 3, I'm trying to make this pass on the inside of Jonathan. Now, as we slide up out of turns 4, we clear him, but he now crosses us over. A nice little switchback move right there from Jonathan now as we go down into turns 1. So he's going to get clear. He slides up this time. Now I do a nice little switchback, and here we are side by side again out of turns 2. On his screen, I believe I made contact with him. I couldn't tell, but now as we go down the back straightaway into turn 3, I know I need to try and clear him right here, otherwise Andrew's going to be able to pass me likely as well. So out of turns 4 again, I see I get clear. I'm going to come up in front of that 20 of Jonathan, and he decides to just stay in behind me there. So we now take over the lead, and we cut all the way to lap 179 now. Lap traffic in the mix again that had already pitted. I now come into the pit lane here. A very simple call this time. I decided to take 2 tires. Andrew Wisdom, he had already pitted. He took 4 fresh tires. Myself and Jonathan both would elect to take 2 tires. So by the time this cycled through, we were out in front leading this race still, and we had a nice gap over Jonathan because of the couple laps earlier that I pitted than him. So now it was only 12 laps to go in this race here, and we are in position to win this thing. I turned my mirror off. I didn't want to see Jonathan in my mirror. We were managing the gap right until this moment right here. I get on that seam out of turns 2. It nearly spins me out, and now that's going to bring Jonathan into the mix. We still have a decent gap over him. It's manageable, but right here it gets worse out of turns 4 on the seam again, and now we are now within range of being attacked by that 20 of Jonathan here in the closing laps of this race. And then out of turns 4 on lap 193, I hit the outside wall. That brings Jonathan right into the mix here with 7 laps to go. Now at this point, I know Jonathan's got tires that are fresher by 2-3 laps or so it's going to be very hard to hold him off. So I knew my only opportunity was to just fight him as hard as I can and hope by the final lap I'm still with him. So I was giving it everything here. We were going back and forth, running into each other a little bit right there. I hit the wall, bounced down into him, and as we go down into turns 1, 5 laps to go in this race. A tremendous battle. Andrew Wisdom on the 4 fresh tires was closing in very quickly there from P3, and of course with myself and Jonathan being side by side, it allows him to close in even quicker. Now as you can see, he was coming into the frame. Now some more contact with Jonathan approaching the final 3 laps of this race. But right here, Jonathan out of turns 4 gets clear. I know if I stay behind him right here, I'm done. So I make the move up the inside. We fight back here as we go down into turns 1 with 3 laps to go in this race. And I'm sure enough going to sail it off, clear him through turns 1 and out of turns 2. But he does a switchback. He comes back up the inside now, down this back straightaway. I've been very aggressive this season. I have not been afraid to move people out of the way to win races, and I've never really taken that approach to the Nitro Racing League, but at this point I'm like, I don't know how many more races I'm going to win in this series or how much longer I'm going to be competitive, so I'm not afraid to move guys out of the way, and obviously that might come to bite me later in the season, but at this point I don't care. I want to win this race. Out of turns 4, Jonathan has good 2-3 car lengths, but we close back. White flag in the air here in Iowa. I didn't even realize Andrew was as close as he was. I never even looked at my mirror here coming to the final lap, and Andrew was within 3-4 car lengths. So then out of turn 2, we get a better run out of the corner. Only one thing I can do right here is we go down into turn 3. We line up the number 20. We run into the back of our teammate. We move him up and out of the groove, and side by side out of turns 4, coming to the line. We make some contact, and that actually puts the 20 in the wall. He gets hit by the 9. He goes spinning through the infield. Jonathan gets P3. We win here by punting him for the win. Andrew gets second. I was not proud of that last move at all. I did not anticipate hitting him into the wall. I knew I was just trying to kind of just slow him down a little bit when I turned right into him out of turns 4, and unfortunately it actually just slammed him into the wall. So I was very disappointed about that. Like I said, I was not proud of that last move at all. The first move I didn't care. I thought it was great, but the last move, let me know what you thought about it. I wasn't proud of it. Apologies to Jonathan. We talked about it. Jonathan was actually fine with it. He said it was a racing deal. We both have already got wins, so we're locked in the playoffs. Anything goes, I guess, at that point. You see, we are 5th in the standings, 3 wins on the season now. But yeah, I mean, I told Jonathan as well, I owe him at some point throughout the season, no matter what. But yeah, definitely wasn't proud of what happened there, but fortunately, we still came out of it with the win. And before we end it, of course, I would like to say thank you to the Go One Racing members on the channel of MJ, Joseph 9001, Timothy Arline, Bubba Jr., Brett Dorward, Dark Again Gar Gaming, AJ Vasura, Russell Dixon, Kenneth Barnett, Dana9302, as well as King Matt XL. Thank you guys so much for the support. Thank you for everybody for watching this episode. I really do appreciate it. And I'll see you guys in the next one, where maybe Jonathan will repay the favor on us. We'll have to wait and see what happens. So have a great day, everybody.